Hi guys, it's the Golden Sound Twice. We're here for part 2 of How to Train Your Dragon, Race to the Edge. I'm here with willzgirl, and so last time we were just talking about Astrid and Stormfly, so now we are on to Snotlout, Bylout, and Pain.
Who is great in this show. He's fantastic.
So fantastic!
He's wonderful.
You get to see, so in How to Train Your Dragon, the first movie, you saw a more, like, one side of him. He was kind of like the jock kind of character of Burke in a way.
Which is funny because by the end they're all jocks. Like, they're different kinds of jocks,
they're
all jocks by the end.
But more of like, he's kind of like the stereotypical, like, I work out. You want to come? Admire my muscles in my basement.
And the best thing is he's still kind of like that, but there's so much more.
There's so much more to him. So yeah, he is still kind of like that. And at the beginning, he still kind of has a crush on Astrid, but who doesn't have a crush on Astrid? I mean, let's be real. But I gotta talk about this episode. Can I talk about this episode?
It's your video.
Let's do this. So, there is this one episode where Fishlegs is just not doing well. They don't know why, so they take him to Goofy, thank you. And I was about to say something else, and I was like, nope. I was about to say Goldie, and I was like, no, that's not it. That's not it. So they go to take him to Goofy, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And so they decide, oh well, let's hypnotize him because they think that he's allergic to his wonderful dragon Meatlout, and it's not
Meatlug.
I'm gonna go. Meatlug. My defense have been awake for many moons now, with little sleep. And I'm not as prepared as willzgirl is. Boom, look at this. Anyway,
Meatlug!
Meatlug! I love Meatlug, okay?
So, unfortunately, they think that Fishlegs is
allergic
to Meatlug. He's not. That's the twist at the end.
He's not, no. But so, they hypnotize him, right?
Yeah.
And while they're hypnotizing him, they're trying to, like, Snotlout is Snotlout, basically, and he's like, oh, let's hypnotize him into being a real Viking like me, but better, if you could get better. And he accidentally does. It's the greatest thing ever, because, so, Fishlegs thinks of himself as Bone Crusher, and like even like
who is the most stereotypical Viking to ever Viking?
Actually, though, ever, and like his entire
imagine Fishlegs with the personality of what would be a good like an Emma are we gonna say maybe a wrestler?
Yeah.
Like one of those wrestlers who's coming in like this, like, and walking around. I don't know a good comparison to Thor Brunkrusher.
Like the boulder. Like the boulder.
What can be a good comparison to Thor Brunkrusher? There was only one Thor Brunkrusher.
Well, he reminds me a bit of the boulder from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's a good comparison.
So you get that, right? Okay. And
it's amazing.
Snotlout falls in love with him. Legit.
No lie.
Falls in love with him.
No lie.
Has the biggest anime schoolgirl crush I have ever seen. It is great.
In Western style animation.
Yes. And at the end of the episode, when Fishlegs has turned back to the adorable, lovable Fishlegs that we all love and care about, Snotlout is heartbroken. He is so heartbroken, he kisses. Yeah, he kisses him. Kisses Fishlegs on the cheeks.
Yep.
And says...
You really thought he was going to do it on the lips for a second, didn't you? He, grabs his cheeks and is, looking at him.
And he goes, I'm just thinking about what could have been.
So, basically...
You broke my heart. You broke my heart in two. And then flies off
in
tears. It was great! You just see this new whole side of him, and I'm sitting there going, my little horrible son, my gay horrible son, yes! And so, this is why he is Bylout, because he is bisexual, and I will fight anybody to the death over it. It is great.
Maybe not to the death, but to mortal injury.
Mortal injury, yes. I have a sword behind you. Yes, I
you.
will. But, no, you get to see so much more of his character, where, yes, he's a little snarky, asshole at times, full of himself, does things, and you're sitting there, and you're just like, and why? And any conceivable reason would you think that would be a good idea? Mm-hmm. But, at the end of the day, he really does care about everybody, and he shows it. And you get to the point where you really care about him. Like, you definitely want to throw him off a cliff half the time. But the other half the time, you're like, well, I guess we better go fish him out. Yeah. Which I think is Hook Fang's relationship with him.
And that's what's great. Because, like, Snotlout doesn't need a dragon that's, like, fawning over him or anything like that. He actually doesn't need the relationship that Toothless has with Hiccup or anything like that. What is great is Hook Fang is exactly what someone like Snotlout needs. It's basically like, I feel like Hook Fang is kind of like this really sarcastic friend, like just kind of like standing in the background, like telling you how stupid you are, like constantly. But he'd only do that to someone like who's like acts very full of themselves or something like that. But just like kind of like the bitter person in the background, like constantly following around and just kind of like laying it down. But the great thing about Hook Fang and Snotlout's relationship, you really get how much they care about each other. Mm-hmm. Like, even though they're constantly, like, being bitches to each other, then, more Hook Fang, let's be honest, it's Hook Fang. But it's what he needs, and that's what's really great, is I think that you can really tell that they have developed a very different kind of relationship than, Toothless and Hiccup, but it's still very, very genuine, and it makes sense. It makes sense that they would be that way.
I mean, there's even moments where Snotlout's like, oh, I knew he would turn on me, you can't trust dragons, like, and that's when Snotlout is at his most, like, terrified, panicking over something, like, if one of the dragons has been, like, mind-controlled or taken over, which is very...
There's some weird episodes.
There are some weird episodes, man. They're really great, but you're watching it and you're like, uh-huh. But,
well, that's how that works.
I see. But it's like, at the end of the day, even when they're extremely angry at each other, when they're not around with each other, they're constantly freaking out, like, oh man, where's my dragon? Where's Hook Fang? And Hook Fang's like, where's my stupid ass rider? Where is that boy? Need to get him. Yeah. Boy! But it's just like...
And you really do feel like Hook Fang would fight for Snotlout.
Yeah,
I really do feel like he would throw down for Snotlout.
Oh, yeah. He definitely has. And, like... There are definitely times where Snotlout was ready to go all out for Hook Fang, and so they have a very unique relationship where they're at each other's throats, but in the moment of crisis where they think that the other one is in peril, they're all there for each other. Definitely. And we also get to find out that Snotlout has a magnificent, he's a magnificent seamstress, or seamster, I guess. It's great. It's beautiful. And there's one point in time where he's talking to Tuffnut, and they're comparing stitches, and you're sitting there and you're like, yes, good. Good.
And to anyone who's kind of curious about the Snotlout Ruffnut relationship, it's not exactly there yet, but they do actually
It's not even there.
Well, no, they give hints to it. Well, kind of. I mean,
I think it's season 4.
No, honestly, it's season 4. It was like season 2, because there was this one time, it was great. There was a dragon that they were trying to get rid of. Like, Hiccup wanted to study it, but they're like, it was kind of paralyzing everyone. Hiccup is kind of a mad scientist at certain times.
Oh, yeah.
But and they're both trying to get rid of it, and it's just really great, because, it's because remember Ruffnut and Snotlout are riding on a dragon together, and they're like arguing, and she's like, "Whoops!" and he's like, "Whoops! That's all you could say." And she's like, "There's some other things I could say, but that wasn't very ladylike." So I think that was a nice nod to the fans. Plus, my favorite nod to the fans ever is, there's this one line that Ruffnut has, again, we'll talk about Ruffnut, where she says, like, when she says, like, 2 dragons fighting over another, I never even thought that was possible, which is a nod to the second movie. It's not there, but I think that they, once in a while, they give a nice kind of wink to the fans, like, plus there's that wonderful episode where Tuffnut convinces where Snotlout tries to convince Tuffnut that he's, like, gonna go insane or something like that, and the Ruffnuts, like, drag and Snotlout all over the island.
Great.
That was amazing. We'll bring that one up when we talk about the twins.
Yes. And so who are we on to next?
Okay, that's for Snotlout. The twins!
Hey!
The twins! I swear, I think the twins get, like, developed the most.
They do. They
season.
do, and it's great. They have these great one-liners. They just, you sit there, and you're like, I would never want to tangle with you, but continue doing what you're doing. You're going to get us all killed. But I want to see how it happens, so keep doing it.
I like what you said there. That was amazing. Yeah, Ruffnut and Tuffnut. One thing, and I don't think I brought this up. Astrid had the same voice actress. Tuffnut, Snotlout got a different one, but he sounds almost exactly alike. It's a really good. Tuffnut got the same voice actor. Ruffnut got a very different one, but you really get used to it very quickly. I didn't even notice. So maybe it was like more in like. It sounds a little bit younger. Like, because Kristen Wiig was the one who voiced her in the movies. So she sounds a little almost younger, I would argue, in the series. But you get used to the voice really quick, and it actually kind of matches the character in the end.
It really does.
I think by the end, like, both Kristen Wiig and this new voice actress, which I am gonna add on because, like, she's very talented. Very talented voice actress.
Yes.
But yeah, we got...
God, I would love to do something like that. Oh, voice acting is so wonderful. Oh, I just... Dreams. Okay, sorry.
So Tuffnut, Ruffnut, and the Barf and Belch, their dragon.
Yes. Yes.
Which again, what's really funny about I'm just going to quickly say Barf and Belch because we don't need too much time on them. But with Barf and Belch, they're very kind of like done with their riders all the time, but they're also very loyal. I feel, except for like that. There's this one great Barf and Belch scene where Barf and Belch have basically been captured by some villains, which we're going to talk about, and Ruffnut has to like be forced to clean them or something. And they're kind of ignoring Ruffnut like half the time, and then all of a sudden this guard like knocks Ruffnut down, and all of a sudden you see the dragons like glare at them and immediately just attack the guy. So it's just a wonderful thing where it's like they're kind of over their riders like insanity at some point, but they're still like super protective, and I really like that. So that's kind of like what Barf and Belch are like, and I think that you can see that too because Ruffnut and Tuffnut. There's this wonderful episode where Barf and Belch become like extremely attached to Hiccup for a little while, and not only is that hilarious because you see Barf and Belch constantly chase after Hiccup and try and get him, right? But what's also really almost kind of heartbreaking is you see how much the twins really love Barf and Belch. They're terrified that Barf and Belch won't be their dragon anymore. It's really sad.
It is. They get to the point where they almost are trying to kill Hiccup just to get the loyalty back from Barf and Belch. It's great, but also it's like Barf and Belch have their own mixture of insanity. Mm-hmm. It's just not as insane as the twins.
Yeah, well, it can't be.
It can't be. You can't be them. It was...
Yeah. So that's Barf and Belch.
Bays.
So, on to the twins. You do Tuffnut first.
Tuffnut. Tuffnut is a glorious, glorious man. First of all, and again, voice actors, we need to get the voice actors... I want to meet his voice actor someday and just work with him on a project. Like, I would love to voice act with him. He is incredible. These one-liners that he comes up with, the sound of his voice, just everything. It is, oh my gosh, it is amazing. And Tuffnut's character is the most insane character. Like, Ruffnut, she's insane, but she on her own actually is very logical, whereas Tuffnut, no logic, none whatsoever, goes off and does his own shenanigans, with or without his sister. He just...
Mostly with.
They
still have that. They still have that closeness.
Absolutely. But there's a few times where he goes off and does his own thing.
That's it.
And it is the greatest thing ever. Yeah. Because he has this level of insanity that is so insane that it would almost make sense. And does at certain times. And other times you're sitting there and you're looking at your glass of water going, what did I put in here? Is this filled with something? Oh, no, it's the show. Okay, cool. Good to know. Good to know it wasn't me. Mm-hmm. Wasn't me. It's the show. Yeah. It's incredible. He actually is a very strategic thinker. It's just that there are his little personality quirks and hiccups. Anyway, okay. It's funny in my head. But he has these little personality quirks that will, as much as it gives him a strength and advantage, will also hinder him at the same time. but when he is really focused on something, he goes all out. And he is very loyal to everybody on the team, especially his sister. He would die for her if he had to. Maybe he wouldn't want to, not right away. But he would really just do anything for her, he supposes. But no, and what we had mentioned, or what you had mentioned in the first episode, we get this episode where Astrid and Tuffnut have to work together. And you get to see his crazy with her strategic battle, and her strategic battle works to a point, and it can't go any further, and then he is able to delve down into his crazy and bring forth their salvation, and that is literally Tuffnut in a shell, like, in a nutshell. It is just fantastic.
It's really, really good. So that's fantastic. I agree entirely. So let's move on to Ruffnut.
Yes.
Ruffnut is a badass.
Yes, queen.
And it just comes out of nowhere. I mean, but she has these amazing moments of just badassery. One thing I will say is that Ruffnut is still very, very attached to her brother, which of course they have to be. I mean, they're the twins. That's just their thing. But Ruffnut is very interesting because I think that she is much more cynical than Tuffnut, which I think is very interesting. You get that she realizes how everyone thinks, what everyone thinks about them, which is not always great. And most of the time you feel like she doesn't care. But there are certain moments, like there's this really honestly kind of powerful scene where she kind of goes after Astrid a little bit, because Astrid is kind of not so subtly insulting them. And Ruffnut is not taking any of that, and she just kind of lays it out there, which I thought was incredibly good. She has some really great moments. She has some nice trickster moments. There's one time where she manages to get a key away from a guard, which is just really, really great.
And she still has meat too, like she still has chicken dinner, and you're like, how?
It's wonderful. And she's much more open about like talking to Hiccup. I've noticed a couple of Hiccup and Ruffnut kind of moments. One of my favorite like things is Tuffnut thinks he's about to die, I think, and he's like giving away all his possessions. And in a kind of funny but kind of sweet way, he tells Hiccup basically to take care of his sister. I mean, the way he says it is, Hiccup, you can have my sister now. But I do think that in his own way, Tuffnut realized that Hiccup could take care of her in his own way. So I think that's very sweet. But Ruffnut is awesome. And she loves her brother so much. We have some wonderful scenes too. I think there's this one line she says to Snotlout, do you really think I would be dragging you around if my brother weren't the most important person in the world to me? We have some definite, they're snarky to each other. I think every episode they threaten each other's lives.
Oh yeah.
They pretty much threaten each other's lives in every single episode. We can tell it's all with love. They're kind of like the Addams Family, I think, in a way. If you remember the old episodes of the Addams Family, they kind of did torture methods and stuff like that, and they threatened death all the time, but you knew it was out of love. Out of love. Ruffnut and Tuffnut and Barfenbelt, they're fantastic. Let's move on to Fishlegs.
I love
another
Fishlegs.
Really well-developed person in the series.
You had mentioned earlier that Hiccup is the mad scientist of How to Train Your Dragon. He is. And I feel like that Fishlegs is that as well. They're both mad scientists. And their brotope is beautiful, where they geek out together about
friends.
They are BFFs. They geek out about...
Which is great for book fans, because in the original book, Hiccup and Snotlout Hiccup and Fishlegs were best friends. So that's good for book fans.
Yes, it is fantastic. They literally finish each other's sentences and sandwiches. They finish each other's sandwiches. And in fact, hailing back to Snotlout for a quick second, one beautiful sassy thing about Snotlout is that he got to the point where he was giving certain characters in the show ship names. So I feel like that was the writer's call out, and to
they mention Astrid.
Astrid. Yep, they
did it.
They did it.
By name.
Yep, Astrid.
No lie. It wasn't even mumbled.
He was like, let's see how things are going with Astrid, and you're like, Snotlout, my shipping son. And then Snotlout, what was the ship name that he gave? Hiccup, yep. It was literally an episode of like where Hiccup and Fishlegs had a disagreement on something, and they could no longer finish each other's sentences or sandwiches. And
everyone was so shocked.
It was a huge shock, and everybody, like life and death was on the matter. It was problematic. Like, an entire village was going to be destroyed if these two couldn't work it together, and they just were not mentally connecting, and they were, like, having oh my gosh, what are we doing? Are we still friends? How are we going to survive? And Snotlout's just sitting in the background with his popcorn going, this is the greatest day ever, and Astrid's like, we need to get them back together, and Hiccup's like, and Snotlout's like, no, we need to see what's going on with Hicklegs. Like, the Hicklegs has become much more interesting, and you're sitting there going, Snotlout! But back to Fishlegs, though.
He's basically kind of like a zoologist for dragons. Like, he loves dragons. Like, you sometimes actually do question if he loves dragons more than Hiccup. Sometimes you do question it.
Yeah.
But he's like the facts person. Like, he's interested in watching them. I think that, honestly, if there were, like, no evil people and he could just watch dragons all day, he'd be happy.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, he's great. He's very sweet, very soft-spoken. But he can stand up for himself, which you see him do several times around Snotlout. And just has really, really, and he just, his energy is really infectious. Like, even watching the show, you're like, I want to learn more about this dragon because Fishlegs is so interested in it.
Right?
Which is just great. And he has a very sweet romance later on with a new character named Heather.
I ship it so hard!
Who unfortunately, I don't think is going to be in the third movie, which I really hope maybe they can make a cameo. She can make a cameo appearance.
Badass, and her dragon is so badass.
We're getting there. But finishing up Fishlegs, he's just fantastic. I think that anyone who is very, very nerdy and who just really just wants to learn about dragons, they'll just love Fishlegs because that's what he does.
And Meatlug, his dragon, is the sweetest.
Meatlug. Oh,
she's so sweet.
So sweet. She's
like one.
She's basically like a baby bulldog. She's like
so true.
She's like completely devoted. Like, here's the thing. Even though I do agree, I ship Hiccup and I ship Fishlegs and Heather. If Meatlug was a person, they'd already be married with children at this point.
Oh, absolutely, they would. There's no doubt.
They would already be married with children. The one thing I will say about this is the image that kind of sums it up. In the credits scene, there are little kind of pictures of the characters doing different things. Meatlug and Fishlegs' picture is of both of them in a mud bath playing chess together. That's the only image you need to see.
Yeah,
that explains everything about their relationship.
It's so great. It's so great. But we're coming close to time, so we gotta move on.
Okay, and Stoick. Okay, this is one where I do think it's kind of would be a good thing, and this is the episode I want you to see eventually. One thing, Stoick is one character that kind of benefits from knowing a little bit about Riders to Berk and Defenders to Berk, because something that happens in Riders to Berk and Defenders to Berk, Stoick actually starts out still pretty against dragons. Like, he knows that Toothless is great and all the others are great, but he's still kind of like, I've been fighting these guys all my life. I'm not sure if I'm cool with this, which makes sense. It actually really makes sense. So what happens is he gets his own dragon for the first time. It's a dragon named Tornado, because of course it is. I mean, why not? And he and Tornado have to separate at one point. And I'm bringing this up because this actually is referenced because we get to see the the reintroduction of Skull Crusher, who's from How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Yes.
And
it's just, it's great.
I think it's everything you wanted when those two met. Like, honestly, when I saw the episode, I'm like, okay, circumstances are different than I thought, but
it's everything you want.
I think it's everything you want because it's basically just Stoick just saying, like, it's basically like, it's kind of for me like if there was a matador and he saw this, like, really, really pissed off bull and all of a sudden fell in love with this bull. And it's just like, I'm gonna own this bull.
And take him home.
And take him home and love him. That's basically what happened.
And write him into battle.
It's just constantly this. It's Skull Crusher. I mean, you learn much more about Skull Crusher's motives in the episode, but it's basically like Skull Crusher is kind of just smashing up their island, like going nuts,
right?
Like being this huge ass menace, and then Hiccup and the others are like, Dad, come over, we need your help with something. And he's like, alright, I'll help take care of this dragon. You know, I've fought dragons, I've killed a lot of dragons. And he sees Skull Crusher and he's just like, that dragon's mine.
Mine.
And they're like, there's this wonderful scene where they're falling through the air together and Stoick just doesn't care. He's just like, come at me, dragon.
And you're just like, Stoick, why are you so badass? I can't deal with this.
It's beautiful. So we get to see the start of that. Like we mentioned before, which we don't have to go into too much detail because we did. We get to see Stoick kind of understanding about Hiccup. There's a lot of great moments between them. One thing is you and the writer said this. We don't get any hints about Valka. Like, no, not even shadows, no glimpses or anything. So, in that mind, she's still dead. Like, well, they think she's still dead. So, nothing about that. So, if you wanted to know, no, Valka does not make an appearance at all in the show, which makes sense.
Right.
But there's wonderful moments with Hiccup and Stoick, wonderful. Still a bit of Stoick Gobber. They still have a beautiful friendship.
I love it.
And Stoick is just amazing. He's great.
And we would talk about Gobber more. He's not in the enough episodes, but we love him.
Yeah,
we love him so much. You don't even need to describe Gobber. You just gotta say Gobber, and you're just like, yes, good. Yes, good. Yep. You want to go out get some mead with him.
Yep. But I think that we don't have to. I think that's enough with Stoick.
Yes.
Okay. Do we want to stop here and do a third, or do we? Yeah,
we'll stop and do a third. All right, so. We're going to do one more episode.
And thank you, people who stayed with us this long.
Yes. Thank you. All right. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye! Golden Sound Twice out.